call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees. If everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before us, we have the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time?
Mr. Chairman, could I add transitional roads?
Or just concerns of trustees?
Yeah.
Do we have any other? Okay, the agenda will stand as amended. First item on tonight's agenda is the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf?
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in an amount of $394,202.75.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4A is the bank reconciliation for February. And 4B is the bank reconciliation for March. Fiscal Officer number 5 is the investment report.
Anybody's got any questions, see Tom after.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize the following COVID transfers.
I will so move. Fiscal officer number 6.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that concludes the Fiscal Officer report.
Thank you. I'll let the record reflect to our administrator, Ms. Campbell, was excused tonight. She's got a daughter graduating from high school at Jackson. So moving on, Fire Department, Chief Schallenberger.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to accept the resignation of part-time firefighter paramedic Brett Ballman, effective May 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to accept the resignation of Gabrielle Lahaney, part-time firefighter paramedic, effective May 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees that whereas ROC 505.86 provide the removal, repair, or secure of building or structure that has been declared insecure, unsafe, or structurally defective, and the address is as follows: 3221 Roosevelt Avenue Northeast.
I will so move on Fire number 3.
Second.
Discussion. Chuck, on that property, because I work with one of the neighboring residents over there. Are we just going to be boarding up that rear window? I mean, that front porch was a hot mess. I mean, would we, mark something off to deter people, to stay away because somebody could easily get injured?
Yeah, I think that was, I guess, reinforced the issue that we wanted that repaired or taken off the front of the house. Whether they tear it down or take that off, because it is pretty bad.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And item number 4 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees under ORC 505.86 for the building structure is declared insecure, unsafe, and structurally defective. And the address is 3742 Martindale Avenue Northeast.
Also moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Takes us to Road Department. Mr. Iacino?
Yes, item number 1 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment to Evans Supply for snowplow cutting edges and hardware not to exceed $6,890.
I will so move on road number 1.
Second.
Just for discussion, since we've got some young gentlemen in the crowd. Typically, we don't purchase snow blades this early in the year, but the whole supply chain and prices.
Prices are just.
They just went up $25 a blade, and they're gonna go up another $25
At the end of May.
a blade in May. So this is one of those, yeah, we're purchasing it early, but it's about saving money on something that ultimately we'll need. So, no further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to enter an agreement with OHM Advisors for the alternative analysis study of Orion Street Northwest storm sewer project not to exceed $19,990.
I will so move.
Second.
Second, Brooke, discussion, just as clarification, this is something Joe and I have been working on. Joe, I mean, quite frankly, you've dealt with the Orion area long before, but this was something where
Yeah.
OHM had come to us and said they may be able to help.
In my email that I sent everybody today, it's damaging our road now, and there's just so much water, and with the increase of the traffic, it's gonna hit that road in another year once the roundabouts go in. We gotta do something. I mean, it's not just the drainage, we got a lot of trees to clear, we gotta get some sunlight to it. We just paved that 3 years ago, JP, and we gotta
It doesn't look
we
like
gotta
it.
go repair a bunch of spots, yeah, so.
That's west of Clayton Avenue?
Yes, it's between actually Berkey and
Oh, yeah.
Woodbury Green
Crazy.
allotment there.
Yeah.
But I think we
Yep.
might have found a way to take it, because there was nowhere to take the water, John.
Yeah.
And we're gaining on it, so he's gonna give us some alternatives and do a drainage study, then we'll have to take it from there.
The nice part is I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but some of these ARP funds
Yeah.
we very well could use to.
Right. I'm trying to get some funding, yes.
Yeah, that
So,
could
I don't
be-
think it's gonna be a cheap project, so.
No, that could
It's
be a
not,
big.
but it-
Scott and I told him from the beginning, we need to try to
That's-
secure some funding, you know, from
That,
the beginning.
that road has been narrow and.
It was never built for
No,
that kind
not
of
at all.
traffic. And the last
That
traffic count we
Traffic's
had,
gonna only increase.
last traffic count we had was 8,000 cars a day,
Yeah.
and it was never built for that.
yeah, that's predominant residential area. That's-
Right.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it takes us to the zoning department. Mr. Farrar.
Thank you, sir. Item 1 is a resolution to declare items A through D as nuisance abatements.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution to set a hearing date to consider a zone change for parcel 10013244. That's McKinley Development of Saratoga Hills. They want to change the zoning from R1 to R1A. And the hearing will be set for the next trustee meeting, which will take place June 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll
The
call.
RPC has approved it. Our zoning commission heard it and approved, and sent that approval to the board.
So see, because the only difference that's changed in the application details from what was original was going, you know, the whole R2 to
Yeah.
R1A. Everything else same for, actually, there's a slight increase in green space overall. Okay. Any further discussion, roll call?
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning.
Thank you, Tom. It's going to take us to the Parks Department, Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to hire Christopher Woods for Parks, Buildings, and Grounds as a seasonal at a rate of $12 an hour and no benefits to be paid out of funds 01B, 01A, and/or Fund 14A, 01B, with a hire date of May 26, 2021, pending the drug and alcohol testing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call?
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes Parks.
Law Director, Communications, blank, brings us to the portion of the meeting, public speaks. If there's anybody in the audience that wishes to address the Board of Trustees, ask that you please state your name and your address for the record, and then proceed whether you want to stand back here, we've got mics, or you want to come up here. It's your
Oh, this
choice.
is fine. Yeah, I called about 2205 Tamarack Circle. I've lived next door to these people for 27 years. And since day 3,
Sir, can you state your name?
oh yeah, my name is Dave Rood and I live at 2215 Tamarack Circle. Since the third day I lived there, 27 years ago, they have been an absolute nuisance. I've had summonses and warrants, and the police have been called numerous times. Anyway, besides all that, is there any way to expedite cutting the grass? Years ago, when I was younger, I actually did go over and cut it myself. I haven't spoke to these people in years. They are really nasty. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure a gunfight wouldn't break out.
Well,
They're crazy. I
We
mean,
definitely don't want that.
no, I don't either, so I'm not gonna do it.
Short version on expediting, if we really don't have an extensive track record, say where it's been a reoccurring nuisance abatement
Right.
property, no, we have to legally follow the process. However, when we have a repeat offender,
Mhm.
what was it, a little over a year ago,
Yeah.
Tom, that we had adopted the policy that repeat offenders, we can, because I think even at 4 weeks, or I forget what the exact time
The
was.
Ohio Revised Code said that if they've had a prior occurrence within a 12-month period, we could give them a 4-day notice rather than going
Yeah.
through the extended.
And we've done that before, so that does expedite the process.
Yeah.
But we have to start that pattern first. So we have to start
Every
with the
year,
first.
every year we have
Yeah.
to begin it again.
Well, like I said, I did try to be a good neighbor, whatever. I don't wanna look at that mess, and I used to mow it, but like I said, I'm not gonna go over there now and have a problem. And it's just, I can't say enough about Plain Township. The road department is second to none. The parks, the same thing. And the sheriff's department, when I called meetings and assistance, 4 minutes, I had 2 cruisers in my house. Last year I had cancer, I called for an ambulance. In 4 minutes, there was an ambulance in my house. So Plain Township has been very good to me, and I'm really happy to be here.
No, it's understandable, it's not,
Yeah, it's just such a nuisance and terrible to look at, so I appreciate your time. I thank you for anything.
Have you turned that property into our zoning as
I
far as
called
a nuisance?
before, yeah, I did this year, I did. I called
Yeah, so it
about
is
3
on the
weeks
list.
ago. In fact, when I called,
Yeah.
within an hour, somebody came out and took pictures.
And that's, actually, we just passed tonight
Yeah.
on our agenda.
Yeah.
If zoning department, under nuisance abatements, it's number 2. So we've approved the abatement of that property, so essentially what that means is now the parks crew who handles the nuisance abatements
Okay,
will be getting out to that property within the next couple of days, weather
Wonderful.
permitting and so forth.
again, I
So-
thank everybody for everything you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience that wishes to address the Board of Trustees? Just you state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tom Crowther. I live at 7070 Pine Tree Avenue Northeast. And I abate the McKinley project the zone change meeting was held at the fire station, and the trucks were pulled out. It's impossible to hear in that situation what was said. We did turn the microphones on, and it got a little bit better, but when anybody made a complaint, they didn't have the microphone, you had no idea what they said. Of course, it was repeated. Please, my suggestion is never to have a meeting over there again with that high a ceiling, and I know it was a one-time occurrence, and I appreciate that.
But there was no way around it. It's just
I understand.
unfortunately, the COVID space restrictions, based upon the number of inquiries that we had, if folks showed up, we had to be able to accommodate, and here wouldn't have
Right,
been.
I understand that.
So I appreciate the frustration, because I actually showed up the latter half of it and did hear exactly what you were, because at moments, leaning in to hear.
Okay, when McKinley made their presentation, they complained about the cost of a road being much higher. They put 3 dead-end streets over there that originally weren't there, and they weren't even there in 2019 because I had that blueprint. I'm not sure that dead-end streets are actually good for a Plain Township or anybody else, based on the fact that the GPSs don't always key into that kind of stuff. And you've got the fire, the police, and the ambulance, and then be unfortunate if somebody, that they didn't find the address.
Like, I will put my entire reputation and name on. That's not gonna happen with our fire and
Well,
our
okay,
sheriffs.
I'm
Because the
75 years old.
The turnarounds, actually, when the roads are approved, Stark County Regional Planning approves the subdivision platting, and they handle all of the, infrastructure requirements, from the width of the roads to, they will consult with the fire to make sure, okay, can we do it? We were thinking of doing a hammerhead here, or we were gonna do a circle here, so I know there's definitely some options. Chuck, I don't want to.
Okay, I would like to say, it would seem to me, when they said the cost of the road, when any of us go to Lowe's or Home Depot, we gotta pay whatever the cost is. And when they started this project 20 years ago, they knew that the costs were gonna rise. There was no question about that. I think one of those streets ought to go all the way through. I just don't think that they should actually have their own way on everything they ask for. But of course, that's your decision, and I understand that. Is there any way the township could actively take bids and have one garbage picker-upper? Is there?
In theory, yes. In practicality, no.
Well,
Because-
Green did it, but I know Green has a different type
It's
of.
a city, but Eric, you keep me honest here. Township, we technically could, but we've had folks that, when it's even been discussed before, have zero desire. So what we tell the individuals, typically, because I'm gonna make an assumption similar to my allotment, I've got 3 different refuge haulers that we have, so it's three different mornings. Some are like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It feels like it's probably just a hair lit. And what we would encourage residents to do is honestly see if the folks in the allotment will come together on that, because I know Wellington Hills is taking a look at it, but again, trying to get the consensus.
Well, I see 4 trucks, and, all that goes with wearing the roads out, and I can't believe now that the cement trucks are coming across Apple Grove. They're getting off in North Canton, coming across Apple Grove to go to the cement factory. And it just seems like that's an unfair burden to us, but I guess that's how it is.
Joe, keep me honest here. I mean, those roads have a different spec than a residential.
Apple Grove and streets like this, yes.
Yeah.
There's-
So.
It's a lot thicker asphalt.
High traffic volume.
Oh, yeah, I understand, but it's still, I don't know. Thanks so
No,
much
it's
for your time, I appreciate it. I've lived here for 40 years and been very satisfied, and the fact that the township is not broke and we don't have a Belton Village is a thumbs up for the trustees. Present and past, I mean, it's really a big deal, not a little deal. Most people, some people don't get it. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you making the time to come out tonight as well, the prior meeting, because I'll tell you, I don't care. Zoning's the most sensitive subject probably out of, and because, you know, it's the balance between what the rules are on the books and emotion, and those two don't always tend to jive well, but I mean, you've provided some constructive feedback, and we certainly can't speak to how, you know, we're gonna act on it until we have the hearing on the 8th. Of course, you're welcome to come back to that as well, if you've got any additional points for follow-up, but I know we'll have them duly noted.
Only one other thing. Unfortunately, Pine Tree Avenue is the conduit for about 60 acres. And the water comes down Pine Tree. And the day that last year that they flushed the fire hydrants, 1 million gallons of water went down the street. It was level with the retaining ditch on each side. Now, if it rains for 2 days, the water runs over my driveway and my neighbor's driveway, Dan Friends. And our concern is that the ends of our driveways are gonna end up floating, and I'm just wondering if there's something that they can do. I called the road department, it's not turned over, I understand all that, and I called the county, and the county said the same thing, but it would seem to me under the good neighbor policy, if you wouldn't do that to your neighbor, why would you do it when you own the allotment and you run this water off? The last time when we had the 2 inches of rain, it ran over for 7 or 8 hours before it dissipated. Then when it dissipates, it's just another place for mosquitoes to breed, so.
Because that's a combination. I used to have a place off in Northview, so where Pine Tree dead ends, and then you hang the left. I was on the short distance back to the park. So open, combination of open ditch and closed ditch. Joe, do you want?
The incident this gentleman's talking about was not flushing fire hydrants. They had a break doing construction.
Yeah, construction hit a
John
water
got a call, and JP and I got a call,
Yeah.
and we went up there. Was a major break in the water line, and that's,
It actually was running for a couple hours.
it was running for a couple hours before we even got the call.
It was unbelievable, but one-time occurrence.
Yeah, and actually that water line ran for a long time because nobody knew what to do.
Right, and it went straight down Northview.
So I got a
down to
call
the park.
personally from a friend of mine that lives down right by you, and he said, I don't know what's going on, but he said, there's water everywhere. He sent me pictures. So when I headed down that way, JP was already there, and there were a couple other people walking up and down the road. So that's almost a once-in-a-lifetime situation.
Yeah, thank God.
But, well, yeah, because it was brutal. It was on both sides. So I'd just like to make a follow-up on a comment that you made regarding us and what we have done for the township, but in reality, there's 36,000 people that have done that. You and your neighbors who have supported all of us with those levies is what provides those services. And
Right.
all our department heads are in here right now, and the departments they run, that's kind of the culture that they subscribe to, that, you know, we run a $20 million service delivery department. But we couldn't do that without you as well. So we appreciate those comments, but and the other comments, we greatly appreciate those. But you know, that's the return that we get for what you pay. So thanks for those comments from both of you, actually.
Do you have anybody else in the audience that wishes to address the board?
So we have some scouts.
I was gonna say,
So
what's
are
that
you
about?
doing like merit badge,
What are we working on?
citizenship? In the community. So you've had a good opportunity to see a little bit about what goes on locally within the community. This is how government works. You were fortunate that you actually got to see some citizens interact. Sometimes when the Boy Scouts come, there's nobody here, so they don't get to see that interaction. So is there anything we can help you with?
You guys, anything, sign off just to say you were here. Afterwards, we can do so. I know, I think, Tom, you still lead a Cub Scout pack. path,
It
right?
was,
Or
Tommy transferred, or crossed over to Boys Town, so
Okay,
he's in troop 35.
What troop are you?
242.
242.
and I was troop 36 out of East Canton, and I made it all the way through Star. And then the fumes got me, the perfume and the gas fumes, so I never finished Lifer Eagle Scout, so one word of advice, see it the whole way through.
These
So,
two, I recognize them. Have you boys come out and helped us with flags for Veterans Day? Your troop has, I know your troop has. Troop 42 has always helped us
Yeah.
with those flags out. For Veterans Day.
Over that.
Hey, do you guys have any questions for us?
No.
Well, thank you for coming. Hopefully that fulfills everything you need for your merit badges.
If not, let us know.
Yeah.
We're always here. Give us a call.
That'll conclude public speaks, concerns of trustees, first item. John, you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to, with the department heads, kind of bring you up to speed a little bit on our move to the transitional road superintendent. As all of you know, Joe's going to be retiring, and we have to fill that position, and we've been working on that interviewing process. We hope we have that wrapped up tonight. We just want to let all the department heads know that no matter who the candidate is, or the successful candidate, that we would just hope that the interaction that you have shown with everybody else just transitions to that particular individual, because obviously they're going to come on board, and I have no doubt that's going to happen, but we just wanted to kind of bring everybody up to speed. We hope we have that appointment tonight. I don't know if we will or not, but we're going to move forward with it. So,
If I could say so, his shoes don't look that big from here, but I know what he does. The next man's gonna have a heck of a big pair of shoes.
yeah,
Yes, you know.
I would agree with that. The good news is he's going to be training, so.
Very good.
Yeah. Anything else?
Actually, the only thing I wanted to add, I was thinking about, I forgot to add at the beginning, ARP, American Rescue Plan, we've all seen that the dollars or decisions are gonna come through the state office of budget and management. I actually had a couple conversations today. It's looking like Plain's gonna be on cue for about $11.5 million as part of this. Now, I will say I fundamentally disagree with all the national debt that's being incurred for this, but on the fundamental principle that if we don't spend it, it's gonna go to somebody else who is, our taxpayer dollars then need to come back to our community for us to use. So I know Lisa started a list, so I would ask the department heads, high level, if there's projects, whether it's
Infrastructure, you can use that on infrastructure.
Absolutely, I think we
you know,
can.
it's
Snowblades.
sanitary and certain allotments like Laurel Ridge
Yeah.
and so forth. I mean, we need to be thinking big, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. The state has 30 days to get this handled unless they would file some type of extension or continuance. But, during last week's Stark County Township Association meeting, Mark and I were chatting with Ray Hexmer, and I know there's some efforts at the county to already see what's being talked about across the state and other areas, so we can possibly coordinate with other subdivisions if a project would overlap, say, more in between North Canton
Yeah.
and Plain. We just need to be thinking big picture. I mean, God bless Chuck's department's benefited, with some of the prior COVID CARES dollars and so forth with the equipment. We just need to be starting to think about that so we can brainstorm that list and then do work session or work sessions on prioritizing, what we see as most important. So then we can start doing the research for, allocation of resources. But that was all I had. Okay, it's gonna take us to the approval of the minutes, so I'm gonna start with the approval of the minutes for April 27th, 2021.
So moved.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Next one, I'll move on the approval of the special meeting minutes, May 4th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Next one's the approval of the minutes for May 11th, 2021, and I will so move.
Second?
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Next one's the approval of the special meeting minutes for May 17th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
The last one is approval of the special executive meeting minutes, May 24th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
We do have a need for executive session, so I'm going to make a motion, be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session. It's 6:31 PM from this regular meeting is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of the consideration of 1A, appointment of a public employer official, 1B, employment of a public employer official, 1D, discipline of a public employer official, 1E, promotion or demotion of a public employer official, 1F, compensation of a public employer official.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.